Well, thank you guys for coming. I'm really happy that you're all here. My name is Mickey. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to talk about is how I got started. I've been editing for a little over a year now, and I do it all freelance. I haven't worked at a publishing company or anything like that, just fully self-employed. Back in 2011, early 2011, my husband noticed that for every book I read, which was about 200 and some books a year, I would go on Goodreads.com. If you guys aren't on Goodreads, it's a really good website where you can track all the books that you've read, all the books you want to read, books you own, books you're currently reading. You can put, oh, I'm 35% into this book and I really like it, or things like that. So on this website, I would go in there and I would actually review every single book I read. And like I mentioned, it was 200 and some books a year every year. So my husband asked me, why don't you try and find a job where you're maybe a book reviewer for a magazine or a newspaper or something like that, get paid to do what you're already doing in a sense. So I looked into it, and in Googling it, I found bad things because I was getting paid for book reviews, and it came up where people were getting paid to write good reviews in a sense. So I found book blogs, and book blogs are obviously very against that. You don't get paid to write book reviews. So when I found the book blogs, I found things like author interviews and giveaways and a really cool community where they would write their reviews and talk about the books they love, books that were coming up that they couldn't wait to read and stuff like that. And I thought that that's something I could do because they were also getting books from the publishers and from the authors to read and review. So in a sense, it's not getting paid, but you're saving the money by not having to spend it on the book. So if I was already going to read the book, I thought, well, hey, if I could get it for review, I could do that. So I started a blog, and that was in April of 2011. Joined that community, and it was really amazing. The whole book community to me is a really great place. You're embraced. Everybody's really nice and welcoming, and I had no problem making my own blog and fitting in where I fit in, being who I was, and it was okay. There's room for everybody in the book world, I believe. So bloggers also really get to know a lot of the authors who otherwise might not be very known. A lot of them are self-published, so they don't have the traditional publishing teams behind them to help publicize their book and all that. So they use a lot of the bloggers as resources to get the word out. So they're very open about talking with bloggers and giving things to bloggers, doing interviews, doing guest posts. So I developed a relationship with a lot of these self-published authors. And I think that that is really where I got my foot in the door. Having the relationships already in place really made it so that they knew who I was, I knew who they were willing to work with me when I decided I wanted to start editing, and that's kind of where it started. So one of the authors that I had actually worked with on the blog posted on her blog that she was going to stop using her traditional publisher and completely self-publish. She didn't want to use her traditional publisher anymore. So I put myself out there and I said, hey, you know what, if you're looking for an editor, I wouldn't charge you that much because I've never done it before. So in June of 2012, I decided I was going to go back to school. I'd already gone to school for a while to get an English degree, but it just didn't work out. Life gets in the way, you know how it goes. So I finally decided I was going to go a little bit part-time. I was working full-time at a bank. Decided to go down to 32 hours and go back to school for a while. I had a lot of friends in the blogging community who actually were freelance editors, so they gave me a lot of advice, and going to school was one of those things that I decided to do. So I started that, and then I was mentioning that my author friend actually decided she wanted to self-publish. So I put it out there and said, hey, if you're looking for an editor, I would like to help you out. So she sent me a sample. I went ahead and edited it, sent it back. She said, that's exactly what I'm looking for, let's do this. But she also pushed me to make a website, put it out there that this is what I wanted to do. This is the direction I want to go. I want to freelance edit. I didn't know what to charge. I didn't know if what I was doing was really editing or not, but she really helped me, and I had a couple friends, like I said, who helped me figure out what to charge at the beginning, try to navigate. I do everything in Word, so I had to learn how to use track changes in Word. And we went from there. So I put up a website. This was about November-ish of 2012, and I had 2 emails the next day from new authors who were looking for editors. So I was blown away. Thought, I'll put this up and see where it goes, and maybe it doesn't go anywhere, but it did. People were emailing me to have them edit or have me edit for them. So I did samples, which is how I always start with my authors. Sent it back. They said, this is what I want. Let's do this. So kind of went like that for a while. I actually went more part-time at my job because I was taking in more editing work. I was still going to school, but nobody was asking me what my qualifications were. Nobody asked me if I had a degree. Nobody wondered if I had any kind of certificates for editing, which you can get. I started doing that, but life got in the way again. So I decided if I can focus on editing and really hone my craft and work on that instead of going to school, writing papers, that I could completely write from reading Cliff Notes. I was wasting my time and my money, so I didn't want to do that anymore. So I stopped going to school. Will I continue? Maybe. It would be nice to have a degree, but I know English, and people trust my edits, and I trust myself. If I didn't think I could do this, I wouldn't be doing it. So after 10 months of editing, I quit my day job, and freelance editing is all that I do now. Almost literally, I do it all day, every day. So that is my story. That is why I'm here. I am now going to talk about how you get started, how the whole kind of editing, or the whole publishing process is, from you write a book to, am I going to publish it, and then what do I do? The first step is obviously you're going to write a book, right? Or a short story, or a novella. So there's all kinds of things that you can write that you can have published and edited and all that kind of stuff. But you're going to write something. So after you write it, strictly for more, not necessarily for the article way that you go, we're talking more about the novel here, or a short story or a novella. The idea is you want to edit it, big time. You want a quality product to put out there. So I would suggest after you write the book and you go through it yourself and kind of, this is kind of what I'm looking for. It doesn't have to be perfect yet, but you're going to send it to maybe critique partners and what we call beta readers. So critique partner, beta reader, they're almost the same. A critique partner is more going to get down to the nitty-gritty stuff, really change some scenes around, give you some really good advice. Beta readers are more just going to be for the overall feel. Honestly, doesn't matter as long as you trust this person and you're really getting some actual feedback instead of, oh yeah, I think that's good. Beta readers, critique partners should really be honest with you, so you have to have tough skin to write something, put it out there, and get real good feedback. After you get some feedback, you're going to want to do your own revisions. So you want to maybe take their advice, maybe not. Maybe you're feeling how you did it is better than the advice that they give you. Just kind of depends on how you feel about it. It's your story no matter what, so it's totally up to you. But after you get some feedback, you might want to do some more revisions. After revisions is where the editing part comes in. You edit yourself until you feel like it's perfect. Then you can send it out for multiple types of editing or just one type of editing. Again, it's your book. You know what level it's at. I will talk about the different levels of editing a little bit later, but I've started making price estimates somewhat. It really depends on the length of your book, what kind of quality it's in, and all that when you send it out for edits. But this is where the money is going to start coming in for investment costs for your book. After you edit, you're probably going to want to copyright your book. I have not been through the copyright process, but one of the very prominent self-published authors, which is on your handout that I gave you, her name is Jamie McGuire. She wrote a very long, very extensive, comprehensive, beginning to end self-publishing article on her blog. So basically a lot of my info is going to come from there. If you want to read that, it's super, super amazing what she wrote. But copywriting is definitely something you want to do because she went through a huge plagiarizing ordeal. So luckily she'd copyrighted it and it was made right. But it's intellectual property. You're going to want to copyright it. It's $35. It's probably going to be the best $35 you ever spend on your book, just in case. Okay, so after that, you're going to want to write a blurb or the synopsis, the summary of what your book is about. You're going to want an author bio, perhaps some headshots, or just a very professional-looking picture of you. Most websites like Amazon and Barnes & Noble will have an author page for you, so you can put your headshot up there, all your author bio, your links and stuff like that. So you're going to want to have that as well. Cover design is going to be probably the next step. This isn't step 1, step 2, step 3. You might do this in a different order, but after this, it's kind of however it goes for you. Cover design is definitely going to be something you're going to want to look into. You can do it yourself if you know stuff about graphic design or anything like that. I would not be able to do it for myself. My husband actually does a little bit of graphic design. I've been trying to get him into cover design too, something a little extra. So you can hire out. On the handout that I gave you guys some referrals for cover designers either I have talked with or my clients have used. They're all amazing. I've got examples of some right here. I brought some of the books that have been self-published. I've edited. They're right here. So I can show you those a little bit later. Or you can buy, like I said, you could do it yourself. There are plenty of stock photo websites out there where you can sift through and pick a stock photo that you think fits your book. You can use Photoshop or something like PicMonkey, and it helps you edit the cover for your book. But you need to know things like size and width and everything about your book. So it's sometimes, for me, it wouldn't be worth the hassle of doing it myself and saving the extra few bucks. I'd rather just hire somebody who knows what they're doing. So that's for cover design. After that, you're going to want to format your book. We're talking ebook and paperback if you decide to do paperback. The beauty of self-publishing is this is all your choice. So if you don't want to have paperbacks, you don't need to have paperbacks. You can sell ebooks. In fact, you'll probably sell way more ebooks than paperbacks anyway. Paperbacks are just more expensive in general, and readers, we do e-readers now, so everybody's got a way to read an ebook on their phone, or if they have a Kindle or a Nook or something like that. And ebooks don't cost anything to upload. So paperbacks are really great to sell because you can sign them, and that's really fun. People like to have the autographed copies of books. There are other things you need to think about, which I will mention too. But I like the paperbacks. I always get a paperback of the ones that at least that I edit. But ebooks now are just, it's so much easier, and it creates the self-publishing world where we can go ahead and do this without needing a traditional publisher. So, but for formatting, I'm talking interior design, especially, I mean, with paperbacks. Let's see if I can find a cool one. So they've got fancy chapter headings. They've got the way their spacing is, the color of their paper. These are all choices that you can make when you self-publish. You're also going to want a barcode and an ISBN number. I put on the handout the place where you can go for that. You need not just a cover, but the spine design, back cover, all that kind of stuff. Your blurb's going to go back here. Like I said, paper color, the weight, the dimensions of the book, the different kind of pages that you guys are going to want to think about for a book. Copyright page, table of contents, dedication, title, acknowledgments, other works by or future works by if you've got other things going on. And then about author and maybe your photo as well inside the book. Okay, so the final process is now you've had everything done. You've had your cover done, you've formatted it, you've had it edited, everything's ready to go. You're going to upload it to the various e-retailers, and you're going to decide on price. I have not been through the self-publishing process. This is something all of my clients have done. But they've used, for ebooks, it's called draft to digital. Places like Amazon are really simple. You just upload the file and you're good to go. Barnes & Noble is, for whatever reason, a little bit pickier. You can use draft to digital. They make sure all of the T's are crossed and I's are dotted and everything's tight and clean in the way it's supposed to be. I think you lose a small percentage of your royalties, but it's probably worth the few extra pennies that you're not going to make for it to actually work. It's a headache for a lot of my authors, so that's something to consider. There is a website called Smashwords where I believe it's just strictly digital. Everything's ebook on that site, and it allows you actually, if you purchase a book on Smashwords, you can download it in any e-reader form you need. So if you have a Kindle, you can get the Mobi file. If you have a Nook, you can get the EPUB file. You can get a PDF. You can get any different type of file format, thank you, that you need. So I love Smashwords too. I like it because it's not just, if you go to Amazon, you end up with the Mobi format. So if you don't have a Kindle, you can't necessarily use Amazon. So Smashwords is really great for that, thank you. Okay, so then for paperbacks, what you're going to want to use to upload your file, you can use CreateSpace or Lulu. I have not seen Lulu, but Jamie McGuire mentioned it in her article, so I thought I'd put it up here. It's an option. I've seen most people use CreateSpace, and they print off the paperbacks, and you can order them and then sell them. Amazon will allow you to have people order straight from Amazon, and they'll ship it out from CreateSpace. The next process, so now your book is uploaded, it's ready to be sold, people can buy it now, you're going to want to market and publicize your novel. Okay, so other things to think about, I put blog tours and review requests. This is going to be online. Blog tours are for blogs. I'm going to go through a little bit of that later as well. Review requests are emails sent out to bloggers or readers to get reviews for your book, where you actually give them a complimentary copy of your novel, which is why ebooks are so important, because it's not going to cost you anything to send a potential reader who might give you a really great review to help sell your book. Setting up a separate bank account, perhaps, to keep everything separate. You're probably going to want to set up social media pages if you don't already have that. Things like Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, all that kind of stuff to help get the word out. Social media is huge these days. You're going to want to get a tax ID number in order to sell paperbacks at places like signings or other public appearances. That's another thing Jamie McGuire mentioned that I hadn't even thought about. So, like I said, you should probably definitely read that article. It was amazing. Public appearances, just such as signings. I know you mentioned RT. It's a Romantic Times Convention. Indie authors are doing a lot of public appearances now. You can stay anonymous. There's no harm in that. I have clients. I have no idea what they look like. I don't meet half these people, any of them. Actually, I've only met 2 of my clients in real life. So you can do things anonymously. It's no big deal. But these signings are a really great way for people to see your face, get to know you. And readers are incredibly supportive, and they love these authors. They write their favorite characters, and they get really involved. So public appearances are going to be something you might want to think about. And then perhaps hiring an accountant if things blow up and money's out of control. Now that I've started, I'm completely self-employed. So this year I think I'm going to have to do quarterly taxes. But last year I was working, so I didn't have to worry about that. But I saved almost all of the money that I made on editing because I didn't want to get stuck with a huge tax bill and not know what to do. So I haven't done my taxes yet. I have to wait. The authors who employ me have to send me 1099s if they spent $600 or something on me. So I have to wait for all that to come in. So I haven't done the tax thing yet. We could do that class about taxes on book stuff later. But we'll see how that goes. Okay, so publicity and book bloggers. So if you don't know what a blog is, I'm going to go very basic. Blogging is kind of like a diary or a journal kind of thing, but it's public. It doesn't have to be, but in the book blogging world, a lot of people blog about books. They'll do reviews of the books that they've read, talk about their favorite books. In the blogging community, we do a lot of different themes on days. So Tuesday is Top 10 Tuesday, where one blog hosts, they have all the lists of all the top 10 lists that you're going to create every Tuesday, and you link back to that blog. And you talk about, it's your top 10 favorite book covers from 2013, or top 10 books I can't wait to read in the fall, or doesn't matter. They come up with the list and you do it. And then Wednesday is Waiting on Wednesday. So you're going to talk about a book that's coming up in a couple months or so that you want to read. You're waiting for it, waiting on Wednesday. Friday is Follow Friday, where they have a topic and you just kind of write about it, and then you follow all the blogs who participate in things like this. So it's not necessarily just, oh, I really liked this book. It's a huge community. We do stuff together. We do giveaways. We do author interviews. We work very closely with these authors because, like I said, they don't have these traditional publishing teams behind them trying to get the word out about their books. So they like working with the bloggers. They like giving the bloggers their books to review because that's how they sell books. Bloggers will put their reviews up. They'll put them on Amazon. They'll put them on Barnes & Noble, all these other different websites, and hopefully people see it, see these good reviews, and want to buy the book. So you can hire a publicity team as well, though. They do have indie author publicity teams out there. I think I left a link on that page. Inkslinger is the one that I work very closely with. A couple of my authors work with them. I don't necessarily know how much they charge or how much it costs, but a lot of the things that an author would do on their own, they do for them. So it's either you're spending the money directly or you give it to them and they spend your money for you. So you've kind of got the option. I asked the lady who runs Inkslinger, her name's KP, I asked her last night. I wasn't sure if they approached authors, the ones that they wanted to represent, or if the authors came to them. She said authors actually come to them. They're also, oh my gosh, if you guys want to venture into the blog world, please let me know. I will help you. There are so many. A lot of the blogs actually have review policy pages where, like how bands on tours have their contract pick out all the brown M&Ms in the bowl so that they know you're paying attention. They'll have stuff like that in there. It's a little crazy, but it's worth it. I promise it's worth it. We're not all like that, but there are some rules to follow. Anyway, so publicity. You might want to look into things like street teams. With the social media these days, you can do it on Facebook where you have private groups. I'm part of a couple of them, really only for the authors I edit for because I don't really have a whole lot of time to read outside of editing anymore. But street teams are really great because it's just a group of people who love your books or your book or wherever you're at. You've got a group of people who are going to read your books, probably post good reviews because they really like what you write. They're going to tell all their friends and post it on social media for you. So it does a lot of the work for you if you have a group of people behind you who can publicize your book. ARCs or ARCs and NetGalley. NetGalley is a place to post ARCs. Patchwork Press is a group of ladies. Two of them are my clients. They started this. It's kind of like a co-op for indie authors. They all work together. They do cover designs. I edit for them, but I think they edit for each other. And they use NetGalley to get the word out about their books. So they'll post the books that they're going to be publishing, early copies, so they're probably not edited, which is okay. That's what ARCs are. It's an advanced review copy. That's what that stands for. You don't have to use NetGalley, but it's a really great place where bloggers can go and request your book, and then you can either accept or deny, depending on however you feel about it. But ARCs are usually what you're going to send out. They're early releases, so your book probably hasn't come out yet. It's not on Amazon. It's not on Barnes & Noble. It's not ready to be sold yet. But you can get some really good feedback, some good reviews, maybe some good buzz about your book before it's out. So that's always an option. Not necessary. And unfortunately, what's happening right now, a lot of books end up on these book pirating sites where they're free to download. I mean, it's illegal. Shouldn't be doing it, but a lot of these ARCs, unfortunately, are getting stolen and they're only giving them to bloggers. So they're trying really hard to figure out who's doing this and have it stop. It's almost impossible, so you kind of have to weigh it. Are you going to get good reviews and maybe sell some books, or is it going to end up on a pirate site? All right, book trailers. This is another thing, a really new thing that's coming out. It's basically what it sounds like. It's like a movie trailer, but it's for your book. So I think this is, I'm not a fan of book trailers, only because I don't read the back of the book to find out what the book's about before I read it. That's just me. I don't like to read the back of the book and then here's something that's supposed to happen and it doesn't happen until like back here. That irritates me. I'm waiting for it to happen, so I don't read the back of the book. But book trailers are really cool because they're like movie trailers, but it's for your book. So it gives people a feel of what your book's going to be like. You can hire people to do this. If you know video editing or whatever, you can do it yourself. Video editing's not for me, so I would not do this myself. And I wanted to put, there was only one person I know who does book trailers. I was going to put that on there, but I didn't. But if that's something you want to discuss, we can always talk about that. But they're really cool, and I think it's a really great thing because it creates a new opportunity in the book world, something we didn't have before. People who know how to make videos can now help participate, help an author, and help spread the word about their books. That's always an avenue you can try. Social media kind of speaks for itself. You want to get out there, have an internet presence. Hopefully, I call it be pleasant and present. Try and sometimes it's who you know. You don't want to necessarily say that, but I think networking's going to be next on the list somewhere. But sometimes it is who you know. So try not to burn your bridges, that kind of thing. Be available and out there, and try and, if you want to really spread the word about your book, it's going to take some time, but social media is a really good place to do that. Okay, BookBub is an email blast, and there's a bunch of different types, but BookBub's the one I always hear has really good success. It's a service you pay for, but what they do is they advertise your book in their email links. So anybody who subscribes to their newsletter is going to get an email blast about your book. So I've heard a lot of really good things about this, where they notice a big increase in sales because it was on BookBub. Usually your book's on sale, you maybe drop the price $1 or something like that, and you want to use BookBub to get the word out about that. So anybody who subscribes to their email will get an email about your book. So that's kind of neat. It's a reach that you might not have had because you don't have all those email addresses. And it's not spam because they want the emails. So spam's a whole other thing. Okay, I talked a little bit about email for review requests. Usually going to be bloggers you're going to want to email. And like I said, it's going to be important that you go to these blogs, maybe try and develop relationships with bloggers before you try and ask them to read your book. Some people are weird like that. I would recommend not putting your book in the original email. People don't like that. People don't like Dear Blogger emails. They kind of want to feel like you emailed them, just them, not everybody else. So I would highly encourage checking out blogs that are part of your genre, that will blog about the genre of book that you are writing, and check out their review policy. They have, like I said, sometimes they have little quirks. They want to know the word count. They want to know how many pages it is. They want to know the name of your main character. Who knows. But the review requests it depends on how you want to do it, but I know I get a lot of review requests, and sometimes it's books that I might not have read otherwise, and I'm really glad that I got the review request, so you never know. Okay, blog tours, cover reveals, and review tours. Blog tours and review tours are going to be about the same thing. A tour is going to be kind of like what you normally think a tour was. Like a band, when they go on tour, they make appearances every day. Blog tour is just going to be on blogs, so you don't have to go anywhere. It's really super simple. You can have a blog tour company do this. This is, again, another really cool thing about the book world with the self-publishing now, because self-publishers don't have the publicity teams behind them. There are other opportunities for people to help out authors. So blog tours is one of them, where they have a list of host blogs who participate in the blogs that they run. And they'll send out the blast and say, you know, so-and-so wrote this book and they want it on tour. Do you want to read it, or do you want to host them for a guest post, which is usually something the author would write about, maybe something about their book, or a top 10 list about their favorite songs that they listen to while writing this book, or things like that, something for the readers to get to know the author. And then each day, a different blog will host that book. So your blog will be a week or 2 weeks or something like that, or the tour will be a week or 2 weeks. And each day, a different blog will host your book. So I think it's kind of neat. I'm not sure how effective it necessarily is. It's going to be the same thing as if you were to go out and have maybe other bloggers post about your book, but I think getting the word out is going to be the most important part anyway, so you never know who's going to see it. Blog tours range in price depending on how many blogs you want to reach or how many different posts you want. If you want just a review tour, it's not too bad, because then you don't have to do a whole lot, and the host doesn't have to do a whole lot. Review tours are going to be strictly where people read your book and review it all tour. The only thing I don't sign up for review tours because I can't really read a whole lot for fun anymore, so it's really hard for me to do that. But also for a review tour, say the reader doesn't really like the book. It's going to happen. You can't please everybody. Not everybody's going to enjoy your book, review tour or not. So then they'll probably post a promo. But usually the tours are kind of neat because, again, each day a different blog is going to host your tour, so hopefully it'll get the word out and people will see your book and the reach will be there. Cover reveals are the same kind of thing, except it's going to be one day. And if you haven't released the cover of your book and you want everybody to see it, it's kind of a new thing that they've started doing. The one day, all the blogs that sign up are going to post the cover of your book. So everybody will see the cover at the same time. And a lot of times on these tours or cover reveals, they're going to do things like giveaways where you can sign up to win a $20 Amazon gift card or a copy of the book or things like that. Giveaways attract more people. You know, everybody wants something for free, right? So I always recommend, even if it's a $5 Amazon gift card, whatever you can afford, people will come see your stuff if you do a giveaway. So that's my 2 cents on that. And networking, we kind of talked a little bit about that. Like I said, with social media, I think getting the word out there and being present out there is a really big part of this. And like I said, unfortunately, sometimes it's who you know, but you never know. You never know. It could be, you know, someone who maybe you have a writing partner, maybe their book gets really big, and they'll do a quote, a cover blurb. Like, I don't know if you can really see it. It's in white. It's the only one I got. But this book, this was Casey's first book, and she had a bigger author do a quote on her cover. So people who read this author might come read this book because this author who writes kind of similar liked this book as well. So, and then now both of these authors are pretty big in the indie publishing world, which is really great. I'm happy for both of them. But like I said, you honestly never know. So I think networking is really great. Reading as much as you can is another really great thing. I didn't write that on there because it's not part of publicity, but the more you read and the more you reach out to people, I think the more people will respond. So it's a give and take. You know, the more you do for others, the more it'll come in. And if somehow, I mean, sometimes it'll happen where a bigger author will read your book and like it, and then they'll just tweet about it or put it on Facebook, hey, I really liked this book. So again, you just never know. How long does it take to make a profit? When I decided with Ruby to do this class, I thought I should, hey, maybe I'll do a survey for the people who I work with and see what they say. And I really didn't get any good answers. It was all over the board. And that makes sense. You know, it really, the short answer is it depends. So here are some of the factors that it's going to depend upon. It all depends on how you publicize and market your book. This also is going to include who might catch your book and like it. So like I said, if a bigger author reads your book and really likes it and starts publicizing it, tweeting about it, saying, hey, you know what, I read this book and it was really different and it was really good, I liked it, their readers, who are a much larger readership, are probably going to maybe want to buy your book and check it out. Because if someone they trust says, hey, I really like this, they might grab it up. And then if you keep writing, hopefully those readers will also become yours. So you never know. So we talked about publicizing and marketing. It also will depend on how much you charge for your book. One of the pieces of advice I got was to not necessarily follow trends. So right now in the Amazon world, people like to, for the first week or after a month the book's been out, they'll drop it down to 99 cents. And this 99 cents thing might sell you a lot of copies. It'll obviously, your profit won't be as much as if your book was $1.99, $2.99, $3.99. But 99 cents to some people means, oh, maybe that's not a very good book. So you're not going to win over everybody, but I don't know. So I think, especially with the first book, it's going to be trial and error. You're going to figure out what works for you. So the cheaper the price that you put up for your book, the less profit or copy that you're going to make. However, you might sell a little bit more copies. So again, you're just going to have to see, what works for you when, if you're selling copies at a certain price, maybe drop down a little bit. And then sometimes they do a lot of sales. So if your book 2 is coming out, maybe you will drop book 1 down to 99 cents to see how that sells, so that you can get a little bit more buzz for book 2 if you're doing a series or something like that. It's also going to depend on how much your initial investments cost. So we talked about doing editing, formatting, cover design. Swag, they call it swag, all these different things I have up here, are going to be other types of investments. So if you do things like author signings, a lot of people, like I said with giveaways, same thing with swag. People like to take things home. They may not have your book, but now they've got a little ribbon with your book on it. Or they do these koozie things where you put your can in and stuff. And they got keychains and buttons and magnets, shot glasses. I went to Vegas for a really big convention. Everybody had shot glasses. Or the chapstick is really big now, yeah. So all kinds of different swag. But that's going to cost money, so that's going to be part of your investment costs. And then it depends on where you publish. Amazon is huge. A lot of people order from Amazon. Barnes & Noble is not having as good of luck anymore. So I've noticed a lot of my authors wondering, should I even put it up on Amazon anymore, or on Barnes & Noble. It seems like it's not worth the hassle, because they're the ones who you have to use draft to digital to make things actually upload correctly. So yeah, you can, like I mentioned, Smashwords, there's iTunes, there's Kobo, there's all sorts of different places. So it just really depends on where you want to put your book and what kind of feedback you get from it overall after, however many months you've had your book up there. If it's not worth it, then it's not worth it. But all of these different factors will determine how long it's going to take for you to make a profit. I'm not saying don't spend a lot of money at the beginning. Obviously, I'm a huge proponent of editing. But you don't have to spend a lot of money in order to make money in this business. However, I think it's going to, I don't know what I want to say. You're going to have to spend something. It's just not going to be free. Whether it's your time, your energy, or actual money, something's going to go into this, and you will be able to determine how it's going to make a profit. And all of these, all the publicizing and the marketing and all that stuff, trial and error, figure out what works. But don't waste your time if something's not working. So, okay, so what to look for in a book editor. Not that I am biased or anything, but these are my things that I think you should look for in an editor. You're going to probably be talking to this person mostly through email, through social media, things like that. I've only ever had one person ask me to call them. And I've met three now of my clients in person, and I have like 50. So their online presence is probably going to be your first clue. As an editor, I can't turn my editor brain off. So when I write, when I text, when I do everything, if I can't remember how to spell a word, or if I don't know if I'm spelling it right, or I will dictionary.com until I figure it out. It's not going to go, I'm not going to look silly by using the wrong word or spelling things wrong. So someone who writes with correct grammar, punctuation, things like that on email, Twitter, Facebook, that's something that you're going to want to look for. However, I know that not everybody, especially if you just want to write a book and you're not necessarily an English person, you may not know what's correct or whatever. So that may not help you, so we'll go down the list. So then you want to look for someone who you can get into contact with easily, and someone you can get along with. Someone you're going to be able to trust, obviously. That may not happen right away, especially there's only a few emails. I usually get, hey, I'm looking for an editor. My work in process is this many words. Let me send you a sample. We'll see what we can do. Then I give the rundown of my long spiel. This is how I work. This is my fee schedule. This is what I charge. This and this. Here's your sample back. But one-word answers, or maybe it takes a couple days to reply. That's probably not what you're going to want in an editor. You're going to want someone who will email you back within 24 hours, something reasonable. And someone who you think personality-wise meshes well with you. You're also going to want to look for someone with references or testimonials that you can verify. Whether you verify them or not, maybe you might just trust it. But just like any other job, they ask for references for a reason. So on my website, I have a page of testimonials with the authors that I've worked with who have very kindly written very nice words about me. No lies. Be honest. I will put whatever you tell me to put up there. But all of my testimonials will say, blah, blah, blah. I've worked with Mickey, whatever. She's great. And then I'll write author Casey Quinn, author of Girl with Guitar. So you'll know the name. That's this one right here. You'll know the name. You'll know the author. You can always contact any of the authors I work with. And they'll hopefully say the same thing that my website says. But you want someone who's going to have some testimonials. They've worked in editing. They've done this. Maybe, this is my next point. Maybe you've read a book. You've read this book, and you go, oh, wow, that was edited really well. Let's check and see who the editor is. So right here, it says edited, Mickey Reed. So not all books. I don't think this one, she didn't put her editor. She's got a couple different ones, but she didn't mention them. They might be in the acknowledgments. Sometimes people are very sweet and do that. But if you read a self-published book and you think, oh, wow, they actually took the time to edit this, check out the editor's name. I've had a couple emails like that. They said, oh, I read so-and-so's book and I wanted that editor, so they emailed me. Or if you have author friends, you've got a lot of people, like you've mentioned, they probably have editors or know people who have worked with really great editors, so you can get referrals. That's mostly how I get a lot of my business. Like 75% of my business is, oh, you worked with Tessa, I want to work with you too because she said good things. So hopefully you know some people, or you get online and you do your search or whatever and you find people with some of these qualities would be helpful to you. I'm looking out for you guys. Proofreading. So general proofread is going to be grammar, punctuation, spelling, word usage, missing or extra words, and then syntax, making sure we're following grammar rules and stuff like that. It's pretty basic, so that's just going to be $1 to $1.25 per page. And when I say per page, I mean per 250 words. Keep everything, I say per page, but it's always 250 words to keep everything the same from author to author. Copy editing. Okay, so when I do anything above proofreading, I still proofread. That's how my brain works, can't turn it off, so if a comma belongs there, I'm going to add it. So copy editing includes reference and fact-checking, point of view, style, word, and voice checks as well. So making sure pronouns are right. You don't want, I was talking to her when they're actually talking to a guy. Making sure all your references. So I had a book where she wrote this from her memory. It was like a lot of true stuff, but she changed the timeline a little bit, but the movies she was referencing hadn't come out yet in her book, so when I had to go and fact check all of that stuff, unfortunately she didn't change it, not sure why, so if you ever read that book, it wasn't my fault, but I did my job. So that's copy editing, but again, I also proofread while I copy edit. don't know why you don't like me. There we go. Line editing. It's going to be just a little bit more than copy editing. And also, when I line edit, I do the other things as well. So line editing is going to be writing style, pacing, consistency, continuity, transition, and sentence structure checking. Things like making sure a scene isn't really long and it could be condensed a little to not affect the overall pace of your book. Consistency, making sure that the phone that was in your pocket, this is more continuity too as well, the phone that was in your pocket isn't sitting on the table without you having taken it out of your pocket in the next couple sentences. Transitions, making sure it's not too sharp, it's making sense, everything's flowing kind of nicely. So those are the kind of things that line editing will get you. Oh, copy editing, I'm sorry, I charge $1.60 to $1.85 per page. Line editing is $2 to $2.25 per page. Substantive content editing is going to be $2.50 to $3 per page. This really digs in, and I quite honestly don't recommend this to anybody unless they don't have critique partners or beta readers, because I believe this is the kind of stuff that your critique partners and your beta readers should be doing for you for free. You don't have to pay me to do this. I have no problem getting paid to do this, but I do believe that this is something you can trust your friends, hopefully, to do. If you don't, you don't. That's okay. That's where I come in. But content editing is going to be paragraph reorganizing, overall feel, plot hole fix, plot credibility and believability, and then character development. So anywhere that I feel, and this is me personally, as a reader, I feel it's kind of lacking, I'll make notes and let you know, suggest some changes. If we need to move paragraphs around, or if I'm just not getting the feel that I think you're trying to put out there from your book, you need thick skin. You know, this is where I'm going to tell you what's wrong, unfortunately. I'd love to write, oh, I really like that, that really worked, because a lot of people don't necessarily hear that. When you go through edits, you feel like, oh, everything's wrong, I have to fix everything. So I like to put a little smiley faces in all my notes and stuff like that. But content editing is going to be like before all of these other editings. These are kind of backwards in a way. Like, if you're going to go through all the editing processes, you want to do it the other way. But again, when I content edit, I proofread because I can't not. So you're getting, it may be $2.50 per page, but you're also getting the other services as well. However, content editing, more than likely you're going to be changing a lot more stuff than if I was just copy editing. So you're going to want another proofreader anyway. All right, cool. So then the last one that I offer is manuscript critique, which is content editing. I actually turn my proofreading brain off as best I can and just write some notes along the way. So it's $1 per page, super simple, because I can read pretty quickly and let you kind of know how I feel. It's a very general overall, looking for plot holes or inconsistencies, making sure your characters develop and are likable, and just an overall feel about how I felt about reading your book. I've only done this once, and it was actually I was really excited. It was for a book that's going to be traditionally published. I couldn't believe she was looking for someone to do this, because to me this is just reading a book. Like, she wanted to pay me to read a book, so I made it a service. No one else has asked me to do it. If nobody ever asks me to do it again, it's fine. Again, this is something I think people can do for free, but sometimes people want an editor because my eyes are different than just general readers when we read. So if you're going to be an editor, how do you market your services? Kind of the same as having a book. I should have mentioned before too, as an author you may want to have a website. So as an editor, you're going to want to have a website. My website was just part of my blog, where I just had a page in my menu bar to go to find all the stuff about my editing. I had my prices, I had my services, I had some testimonials. But as I decided to move this into my full-time job and make this what I do, I purchased a new domain. I have a whole completely new website, different pages for all the different things. I feel it's a little bit more professional. I have it about me and all my projects that I've worked on, so I'm very transparent. You can see everything I've done, whatever. So all that's on my website. Oh, okay, so social media, we've talked about social media. You want an online presence. Networking and telling your friends. Like I said, I had a blog at first, so it made it really easy for me. I already had the established relationships with a lot of authors, other editors, people in the business, people who had already gotten to know me and decided, hey, you know what, I've already talked to her, maybe I'll try and work with her. So I think I had that going for me when I started. But networking and telling your friends and letting people know, because you're not going to get business if you're keeping it a secret, right? So, okay, so then there are websites like elance.com, Odesk. But I know for elance.com, people will post, hey, I'm looking for an editor for my book. It's this many words. It's this genre. I've done Twitter searches where I've looked #editor or, you know, just search need editor, things like that. And I've found people who are out there, hey, I need an editor for this book. Anybody have any suggestions? So you can find people like that and communicate with them that way. I'm trying to think if I got any books that way. I'm not sure. I don't know, but even just being on Twitter and saying, hey, I'm an editor, people maybe search editor and find you. So I work very much on the honor system for the most part. So what happens is they'll email me, hey, I think I need an editor, this is what's going on. I email back and I'm very upfront about everything. I don't charge hidden fees, this and that. My email, you send me 3 words, I need editor. I email you back this novel. Like, if you haven't seen my website, this is what you get. And I'm always so terrified, number 1, that I've made some horrible grammar error and they're not going to hire me now. And number 2, that my email is so dense that nobody's going to want to even reply back to me because, oh, I'm going to get this every time? I don't want to deal with this. But a lot of it is stuff that you need to know up front. So I start off by, I'm so glad you emailed me. I'd really love to work on your novel. And I tell them, this is how I work. My turnaround time is this. These are my ranges. I have 4 different types of editing. Let me know what you think you need. Excuse me, if you want to send me a sample, I will do the sample and I'll send it back to you. Like I said, it'll show you how I work. It'll show me how much work your book is going to need. And then I'll mention things like, hey, if you pick line editing and I'm not really finding line editing issues, I won't charge you for it. I'll send you a refund or I'll make the difference on the second payment. I do 2 payments generally, 3 max. I ask for 15% to hold a date, and that will not be returned. Now that we've gone back and forth, my time's going to be 15% of whatever your novel's going to cost you. So if you change a date, that's fine. If you cancel with me, sorry, we've communicated and it's taken up my time. I keep 15%. It's never been an issue. I just started doing it because I had a lot of, like we were talking about, deadline issues where people were just pushing and pushing, and I have no problem with that. But now if you're running into where my other clients were scheduled, you're going to have to wait. And then if you cancel, I've spent a lot of time with you, so I keep 15%. I ask for 50% due when you send me the novel. So that's the 15% plus the other 35. So 50% is due when you send me the manuscript. Turnaround time is usually really fast. If you're on my schedule, I can edit a book in a couple days. But I usually tell them about a week to 2 weeks just in case. I don't want something to come up like it did last week and not be able to get my edits done. So 50% is due when you send it to me. The other 50% is due after I send you the novel back. So I'm going to send it back to you, and I'm going to send the invoice usually within a few minutes of each other. I am completely open. I always mention I'm completely open to other payment arrangements. I usually do PayPal, but I charge 3% because they charge me. So I don't. I always mention that. That's always part of the quote. And when I write out my quotes, I do it all the same. So you send me your book. You say, oh, it's 80,000 words. I'll say 80,000 words divided by 250 words per page is 320 pages, or 300, whatever the word count is. 320 pages times this is how much I'm going to charge you per page equals this much. Plus 3% for PayPal equals this. I'm going to split it into 2. I'm going to send for half before we start. I'll send for half when I email you back your edits. So you get the edits back. I ask for money up front, so you've trusted me. I'm going to trust you and give you the edits back before I ask for the money. And I'm very flexible. If you can't get it for a couple days, that's fine. You don't get paid till Friday, fine. I'm not too worried about it. I've only had one major issue where it took like months and he wouldn't communicate with me. And I'm like, what do I do? I'll stick around if you guys have any more questions, but I did want to show you, these are all self-published novels. So a lot of the times I think we think about self-publishing and it's maybe the cheaper route, or you go, oh, they got denied from traditional publishers, but this lady makes 6 figures. So it's, I don't know about the rest of them. It's not necessarily going to be 6 figures, but whatever works for her, and she does it right. She doesn't sell her books for 99 cents, so there's that. But she uses BookBub. That was one of those things. But all of the, I mean, they're super professional looking. They're professionally edited. These are all ones that I've actually edited. So there are a lot of different options out there. There's so much you guys can do. So I'm always here. My cards are over there. Feel free to contact me anytime.